We are just YouTubers. Anyone can do this. You just hit record on your camera and you upload it to YouTube, and that's all it is.
Speak for yourself, Sanders. Welcome back to Rose Analysis, where I analyze things, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Sanders Kennedy, and no, not about his current controversy in regards to this guy, but something that happened in 2015 that basically even allowed for that to happen. It's something that has bothered me for years, but without having any sort of platform, I kept it to myself. Sanders Kennedy's YouTube channel really catapulted when he uploaded this video on September 25th, 2015 titled, "The Truth About Beauty Gurus Exposed," which has now amassed 1.8 million views. Contrary to the title and thumbnail, the video is only about one beauty guru by the name of Nicole Guerriero. In the video, Sanders outlines his negative experiences with Nicole Guerriero at the 2014 and 2015 NYC IMATS conventions. Now, Sanders claims that Nicole was extremely rude and standoffish towards him, but I have reason to believe this entire story is completely fabricated. I will be including a small piece of physical evidence a little later in this video to support my claim, so be sure to watch until the end. Let's get into things. Sanders starts the video off explaining that he's met with other beauty influencers who were lovely people, but that Nicole was the polar opposite to anyone else he has met. I do think it's important to pay attention to the way he describes them.
So I ended up interviewing Casey Holmes, Sweet as Pumpkin Pie, Jaclyn Hill, spunky, spicy, love that about her.
It's almost the way you would describe characters in a story and not so much someone you interviewed for a few minutes. That may be how Sanders speaks in general, but it sounds deliberate so he can be sure to paint Nicole in the most negative light as possible. He goes on to explain at the 2014 IMATS he was doing these beauty guru interviews so he could showcase them on his website.
I had a few YouTubers on my list that I wanted to interview. Now, if you don't know this about me, I run a website and I do celebrity interviews and stuff like that, and I thought, you know what, I love these YouTubers that are on my list so much, I want to promote them on my website. I get over 250,000 views a month.
But I find all of this hard to believe because I haven't been able to find any evidence of this website's existence. It's not linked in the description box of his videos, and if a website truly received 250,000 unique viewers a month, I'm sure that means he was promoting it everywhere. I don't believe the metrics at all. Also, in April of 2015, Nicole garnered 6 million views to her channel, as well as over 50,000 subscribers all on her own, so I wish Sanders was just honest here that this was solely about getting views for his own channel, and not in any way to help these influencers. He goes on to say that he's interviewed A-list celebrities before and that he knows what he's doing.
And I did lots of interviews before. I'm not gonna name drop, but I did interviews with A-list celebrities, so I know how to handle it, I know how to do an interview.
And that when he interviewed Nicole Guerriero, she just wasn't the best guest.
So interviewing her was kind of like pulling teeth, and I was just like, she's not interested, but she agreed, so let me just go on.
There's nothing about the way Sanders formulates his sentences and videos that leads me to believe that he is of such high journalistic caliber that he was interviewing big names. Unfortunately, the video of his with Nicole has since been privated, but I did watch the video when it was out, and Sanders was the one that seemed more nervous than Nicole.
Maybe she's afraid, maybe she's scared. She was kind of standoffish. I was like, she's nervous. I just said that she was nervous. So
I'm sorry, this just isn't true. You can find out he was lying so easily. Just watch the interview he did with her. He said she was really standoffish and not contributing much, but she was really nice and smiling and talking a lot, and it was just like every other interview he did there. Part of his story proven to be a lie right there. And plus, just don't believe everything you hear right off the bat. In the uncut video from Sanders, Nicole was nice, friendly, and even attempted to hug him in the end. He claims to be an experienced journalist who has interviewed A and B-list celebrities. P.S. There are no receipts of this claim. He's lying. However, what professional journalist not only stutters and stumbles upon his words when interviewing, but also attempts to defame and degrade a woman on YouTube?
And I did lots of interviews before. I'm not gonna name drop, but I did interviews with A-list celebrities, so I know how to handle it. I know how to do an interview. I'm not an amateur.
Of course he says he won't be name dropping, so there's no way to verify this, but upon Googling his name and the words interview, again, nothing comes up. This is all still within the first half of his video where he's made some big claims, but he hasn't provided any sort of proof to support what he's saying. Now, we get into Sanders' first encounter with Nicole Guerriero after their interview at the Inc. 48 Hotel in New York City, where he says Nicole was awfully snobby and rude towards him and his friends who were just wanting to get onto the elevator.
We walked into the elevator and I didn't know that Carly and Nicole were on there, and the first thing that happened was this. No, you can't get on this elevator. This is a private elevator. Like, go to, like, you can't get on here. Like, get off. There's too many people. Like, you can't be on here.
Now, this whole part is super confusing to me. He states that him and his friends were on their way out when they bumped into Nicole and Carly Bible, and suddenly his friend forgets that she left something upstairs and they go back to the elevator. What it sounds like to me is that Sanders saw Nicole and Carly and wanted to talk or just to be a fangirl because, you know, it was two YouTubers he was really fond of. Take note of the way he says his friend forgot something.
I was leaving the hotel with them to go out to eat, and Carly and Nicole were going up. So my friend Jen, had to go back up because we forgot something. I forget why she wanted to go back upstairs.
The way he says it, coupled with the shaking of his head, indicates to me that this might be a lie. Now, let's pay attention to the way his story changes ever so subtly within seconds.
That we walked into the elevator, and I didn't know that Carly and Nicole were on there. We ended up getting pushed into the elevator by their boyfriends.
So at one point, they're on the elevator with Nicole and Carly, and then suddenly they were outside of the elevator and then pushed in by their boyfriends? Okay. Now, back to what he said about Nicole throwing her hands into his face.
No, you can't get on this elevator. This is a private elevator. Like, go to, like, you can't get on here. Like, get off.
I can't see someone throwing their hands up into your face, telling you to get off their elevator when the very same day you interviewed her. Wouldn't she recognize you? Wouldn't you initiate a hello? Like, hey, we literally just met a few hours ago, or whatever. Now, this is when things get a little bit interesting. So, Sanders was quite turned off and over Nicole after the alleged incident that they had in the elevator. But in this video, he talks about Nicole made a Mary video where in one of her responses, she chose Trisha Paytas to be one that she would Sanders said he took personal offense to this because Trisha Paytas was his friend at the time, which further led him to have adverse feelings about Nicole Guerriero. All of this would lead one to believe that the very next year you wouldn't follow her around at the same event, right? Yes, after this horrible interaction Sanders claims he had with Nicole, he was smiling ear to ear waiting to meet Nicole at the 2015 IMATS in New York. So what is the truth? Sanders claims he had yet another bad interaction with Nicole on the very same day he was seen here waiting to meet her or to get a glimpse of her. Sanders claims that when he got to IMATS, he bumped into Carly and Nicole, and while Carly was sweet and nice to him, Nicole was still rude and standoffish towards him.
Let's fast forward to 2015 IMATS. I'm going into IMATS, and I run into Carly and Nicole, and Nicole's standing there giving me dirty looks. So I ended up just walking away and going back to my booth where I was before.
Now, if this were true, why would he later be seen here trying to get close to her? And let's just say the encounter happened after this. Why would he explain it in a way that seems like the interaction happened as soon as he got to IMATS?
So I'm going into IMATS, and I run into Carly and Nicole.
And then to that question, I'd say, why would you say you walked back to your booth?
So I ended up just walking away and going back to my booth where I was before.
If this happened when you got to IMATS. So again, the order of events just don't really make sense here, which makes his whole story really hard to follow or believe. A constant thing in Sanders' story is just that he bumped into Nicole and Carly a few times at IMATS. But IMATS, which is an extremely large makeup convention, and the likelihood of bumping into these massive creators on the platform doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not a fangirl. I'm a fan of theirs, but I'm not a fangirl of theirs. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, like.
Sounds like something a fangirl would say. It just seems these interactions all just happened when they bumped into them by chance because Sanders talks about another elevator incident with Nicole.
Nicole just stopped in her place and was like, really? And then got on the elevator. Super awkward with the boyfriends there, and me and Carly are having a conversation when Nicole's just standing in the corner like this.
Which was almost laughable to watch because people don't act like that. The scene's beyond exaggerated and usually how someone would be depicted in a movie or TV show because those are for entertainment purposes, but I don't buy at all that this is the way Nicole acted. I do believe that even if Nicole didn't like Sanders, she would ignore him instead of going out of her way to make that known. Another thing Sanders mentions in this video that raises some questions for me is when he says that he sent Nicole a DM about things and she read the message and did not respond.
What people don't know is that I actually DM'd her privately and spoke to her saying, why did you have to do that? You know what this is gonna do, like, why did you have to do that? Didn't get a response though, whatever. But it showed that she read it.
He didn't make it clear if this DM was sent after the 2014 IMATS experience or after the 2015 one, but either way, he doesn't show proof of any DM existing in the video. Anecdotal evidence is Sanders' favorite kind. He gets to say all these things occurred, yet cannot provide any proof or any sort of backup. Many people watched this video and took his word for it without truly discerning for themselves if the story even sounded possible or true. He does this again at the end of his video when he says many people have told him about Nicole.
I heard stories from other people, small YouTubers, fans, big YouTubers that you would never think would reach out to you.
And he adds in big YouTubers you wouldn't think would reach out, which only seeks to plant this seed in the viewer's mind that Nicole is a bad person. It's an incredibly lazy tactic because it's difficult to challenge. This happens very often because it is true that evidence can't be provided for every single situation, but Sanders makes no attempt at even making this video cohesive or believable in any way. He threw out baseless claims and called it an exposed video because his sole reason for making the video was to garner views and attention, and it worked like a charm. Sanders had the same expectations for his Shane Dawson investigation that wasn't an investigation video, except this time he got checked for it. As we can see, this is a pattern for Sanders Kennedy. He had aspirations of becoming a gossip journalist, but what Sanders doesn't understand about journalism is that you need to be credible in what you do. You cannot make things up simply to create a story that you like. Fortunately, Nicole defended herself in a video on her channel, and it was well received by her community, but the unfortunate reality is that Sanders' video is still up and it is still receiving views. Sometimes casting doubt in the minds of viewers is enough for them to cancel a person, and I feel Sanders did a great job of doing that. I can truly say that I'm happy Sanders made this big mistake because his entire platform was built off of this video. He was able to quit his job and do YouTube full time because of a video that I believe is completely false. If you check his Social Blade stats from this time period, you can see his growth was directly related to this video. When you make your foundations off false accusations, it will indeed crumble one day. Sanders, if you happen to ever watch this video, clicks, views, and money are all exciting things, but lying in order to get them is no way to have a viable YouTube career. Part of building an audience is being transparent and honest with them, because once you break that trust, it can be really, really hard to ever get that back. I believe that you have a genuine love for gossip and drama, which is fine, so as long as you're being thorough and honest. Mistakes happen and people sometimes get the information wrong, but making things up completely is not the way to make an everlasting career. Well, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am really curious to know your thoughts. Do you believe him? Do you think this story is true? Were you one of the people that watched this back in 2015 when it all happened? What were your feelings then? What are your feelings now, considering all this Shane Dawson mess with him? So yeah, I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, and I will be back soon. Bye.